All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And we got another signing. It's not the one we expected, but we'll take it because it's one that we wanted. And so Manaea resigns, 3-year deal, kind of team friendly deal. The deal that kind of Stearns wanted. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, like this video, give us your comments, let us know how you're feeling. And Victor, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Christmas Eve to all those who celebrate. The Christmas season is upon us. And David Stearns or Santa Stearns came and gave us a gift early, and so I think all Mets fans are excited to see Sean Manaea back. I don't think anyone can really complain about the contract in which he was signed because what he did last year proved that he earned this money. And I think he would have probably gotten more with another team. But like you said, he wanted to stay in New York. I think more important than the arm slot that or the arm that he's going to bring to the Mets and the innings that he's going to throw, he's just the vibes guy, man. He's going to bring the vibes to New York. He's going to keep the positivity in the clubhouse because he was one of the guys that was leading the campaign with all of the OMG stuff and the vibes last year. And so I think this is more than anything a leadership signing, a vibe signing, and a clubhouse signing that we can look forward to for the next 3 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. And these signings are the reasons why we moved from a Sunday night podcast to a Monday because if we would have came on yesterday, he would have blown up the podcast. It would have been obsolete. So glad we did that. Glad we're talking about it. And you're right. He became the ace of the staff. A good way of putting it. Who was it? Somebody else was listening to another podcast, and he said it's our ace, right? He's not, a Chris Sale. He's not, Corbin Burns or anything, but he's our ace, right? He leads our staff, and he's going to lead our staff. And he's a guy that not only is going to lead our staff, but now he's comfortable. So who knows how much better of a leader he's going to become because he knows where he's coming. He knows the organization, he knows the coaching staff, and so he knows. Now he's free to lead. Right, he's got a secure contract for a few years. Right, and he's not pitching for a contract. He's and now he can be free to become the leader in that he already was, but probably even a better leader because now he's more comfortable.
That's exactly right. A lot of people talk about how the Mets need to sign more pitchers. They need to go after Corbin Burns. They need to go after one of these other top line aces in the trade market. But I'll tell you what, I think we're good, man. We talked about going into last year what the rotation looked like, and honestly, we thought it might have been one of the kind of deficits of the Mets last year going into the season, and they proved us wrong. We had guys that stepped up at each and every turn with guys like Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, and for the last half of the year, that guy was Sean Manaea. And I think going into this year, we're going to go with the same game plan of not necessarily having the star-studded ace per se with that comes with the name, but a guy that's going to be able to get us innings, get us outs, give us a quality start more often than not. And if it's only for a portion of the season, guess what? That's why we're going out and signing a whole bunch of guys that can play that role too. Frankie Montas might not look like that guy right now, but he'll have stretches during the season where you'll be like, man, could this guy be another ace in the making? Same thing with David Peterson and Kodai Senga. And so I think the formula that David Stearns crafted up last year proved to work. And we're going for it again this year. And I think it's going to work just as well.
Yeah, and I agree with you with I don't know if we're done because at the end of the day we're going after Roki Sasaki. But I do believe that nothing's going to happen until that Roki Sasaki is signed, right? So I believe we got the front end of our rotation set. Stearns talked about it. We're going into a six-man rotation, and so that sixth spot is being left open for Sasaki. And unless you want to trade somebody else from the rotation, which would mean only Peterson, right? Because you're not trading Senga, and you just signed Montas and Holmes, and you just re-signed Manaea. So there's only one spot left in the starting rotation, and I know, so like you said, some other people were talking about that we're not done, and in one way it's true, but we're not done. We're done right now because until Roki Sasaki signs, because you only have so many roster spots, right? And so I don't know, where we're gonna put some guys if we're gonna keep re-signing or signing other guys or making trades, unless we're getting rid of somebody from the rotation, and it's not the McGills. If we're trading for somebody, we're trading for somebody that's worth it, right? We're not trading for a back end piece. And so if we trade for a Luis Castillo, before Sasaki signs. Who? What rotation spot is he taking? Because you still got to leave it open for Sasaki. And so are we trading Peterson as well? Is that the idea? I'm not on board for that.
Yeah, we saw how much David Stearns loved his depth last year. We went into the season with, six starters or so that we thought could make the rotation, and we saw that a lot of those starters either didn't pan out or got injured at some point of the year. But the point was, we wanted to make sure that if one of those guys went down, there was another one to step up. And I think David Stearns did a great job in making sure that if one of our guys goes down, God forbid, we're going to have another guy that's going to be able to step up. And all this means is that there's going to be a little bit of less room in the bullpen or in the rotation, which leaves more room in the bullpen. So some of these guys that we talked about being starters might be pushed over to the bullpen in case we don't have got these big signings. Because obviously relievers are hard to come by, especially good ones, and they'll be expensive at that. And so guys like Jose Budo, uh, his experiment in the bullpen might not have just been an experiment. He might be placed there to start the year next year. Tyler McGill might even have that same kind of deal where he's in the bullpen right off the bat. Guys like Paul Blackburn are going to be interesting because obviously he's hurt. He may be hurt for the first half of the year, and we'll see how that plays out. But point of all of this is you can never have too many pitchers. You can never sign too much depth because even guys like Griffin Canning are going to play a role. And even if he doesn't, then he's going to be a cheap kind of option that we had going into this year. I'll remind you guys of the other Colombian born pitcher that we had for a start last year, where we signed him for $5 million. I can't remember his name right now, but that because he only started for us for one game and for five
Yeah,
million
Julio Tehran.
Julio Tehran. And that could be very well another Griffin Canning type of starter, where he makes one start, might not even be a great start, but it's worth the investment because we know we have depth and a guy that is able to take the mound and give us innings at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. All these minor signings, we can't stress about because of what you just said. Last year we did the same thing with Julio Tehran to a certain extent, and they're not gonna, or Adrian Hauser, name the guy. They didn't stick with him, right? So they didn't keep those guys, and so it's one of those things where we can't worry too much about the back end of the rotation. The back end of the rotation right now is Clay Holmes and Montas. And the only reason we're talking about another starter is because Stern said we're going to a six-man rotation. Not and that's the only reason. And I'd actually like to see McGill Maybe he could turn into a reliever like his brother over in Milwaukee. And if he just turns the mindset, because last year his mindset was to be a starter, right? And so, reliever mindset and the starter mindset are two different things. Even Budo had struggled with that a little bit, and I agree with you. Budo is going to be in the bullpen this year, but he's going to go in there with a different mindset. He's going to go in there with that reliever mindset. And Canny, I do see a swing role where he's the Trevor Williams kind of role for us. Maybe even Blackburn's going to be doing that role for us. And you just got to let things happen. But I do believe that as far as pitching is concerned, the starting rotation, we're gonna kind of transition really quick, but I don't believe we're gonna do anything in the starting rotations until Sasaki signs, and that's what January 15th, right?
Yeah, he'll sign in the new year, so we won't get another Christmas gift under the tree with a Sasaki signing, and it does look promising because the Mets are a team that is able to build pitching, has that pitching lab, and Jeremy Hefner has made a great case for himself as one of the best pitching coaches in baseball right now. And so that does look promising. I would love to see Sasaki in a Mets uniform, but even if he does sign, it he could spend some time in the minors if it came down to it, and just worked on his stuff and developed and took some time to come up like a regular prospect, because that's what he's going to be if he does sign, and that's not going to be a bad idea. But the last thing I'll add on if the Mets are done this year with their signings is if they can go out there and sign Corbin Burns for a 1 year prove it deal, then I'd love to see that. Bring it all day, every day. If it's like a high AAV where he's making $40 million, like a Scherzer, Verlander type deal, and he comes over and just shoves and shows why he deserves the money, and then goes off and gets that money the next year, then I'm all for that. I don't know how probable that is, but as the days continue to pass, it seems like he's not getting his money. He's going to have to uh, have another kind of like what Blake Snell did last year. And so, love to see that if that does happen. Otherwise, I think we're good with a Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, and a David Peterson highlighting our aces of the club. Even maybe a Frankie Montas or Clay Holmes. All those guys have potential, and it's just the Stearns experiment continues. Love to see it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. If by time Sasaki signs, if he doesn't sign with us, I after Luis Castillo. Maybe it's one of those where we sign Burns for a 1 year deal, and and see what happens with that. So I do like that idea, but like I said before, and like you said, I don't see anything happen until Sasaki. But you know, there's one more big fish that we need to talk about, and he's I don't know what he's doing because the first base market almost dwindled up, right? There's like two guys, Ty France and I can't remember the other guy, but there's not much going on in the first base market anymore because everybody either got traded or signed over the weekend. And I keep refreshing X here to see if Pete comes to his senses and signs already. But obviously, we're talking about Pete, and that Christian Walker signing obviously hurt Pete's case for getting paid a lot, more than he thought he was going to pay, or more than he thought he was going to get paid, because Christian Walker is a better defender than Pete, kind of all around better first baseman than Pete, but Pete is our guy, and so we want to see him back. But Christian Walker signing for 20 million a year kind of really hurt.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just seems like the first base market is all but dried up, and the only one left out in the cold. I don't remember who used this reference, but the polar bear is out in the cold this winter. Just kind of waiting for his contract to come. That's not coming, and just like the Corbin Burns kind of deal, the longer time passes, the more days that go by, it just seems that he's going to be back with the Mets and get that kind of deal where it's a short termer or a short term kind of deal, high AAV, and the Mets are willing to do that, maybe with some deferred money, like we saw with Manaea. And he's going to have another prove it kind of year, but I don't know if that's the case because I think Pete Alonso wants a sure contract. I think he wants to make sure that he gets the years down more than he gets the money down. And I think you see him on more of a 4 year, 5 year kind of deal with the Mets, just on that smaller kind of deal. Christian Walker got $20 million a year, and Paul Goldschmidt got 12 and a half for his 1 year that he's staying with the Yankees. And maybe it's something in between that where he gets 5 years, but it's almost at like a 19 million kind of dollar deal, or even a $20 million deal that is a team friendly deferred type of deal, and has opt outs after each year, so that if he does want to go test the market again, then he's more than welcome to. I'm all for that. And the one thing I'll say on this front again is a lot of people, a lot of Mets fans, for some reason, don't want to see Pete Alonso back in the Mets uniform because they have the idea of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming next year. And I'll say this to you guys: why not have them both? We know that Pete Alonso might not be a DH or a first baseman for long. We know that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plays some great first base defense, and so why David Stearns or Steve Cohen rather has proven to be the bad man that goes out and gets all the guys. He wants to be Dodgers East, and you go out and make moves like that. That's exactly where it gets you in that kind of conversation. But getting Pete Alonso this year is so crucial for the building of the legacy of the Mets, just the start of it. And I don't think it has anything to do with getting Vladimir Guerrero Jr. next year. The only thing I'll say is that Pete Alonso is going to come back just on a sure kind of thing, kind of deal. And I think he continues to break records with us, and he's going to put up a year that'll shock a lot of people with his number in production.
Yeah, and I don't see, you know, obviously we could dream and have both. Don't see that happen. The reason that you don't do it, you don't wear it right now, are twofold. One, we want to win this year, and two, um, Vladdy's not a guarantee to come, right? All the tea leaves, he wanted to be a Met, and so that's not a guarantee for everybody, right? And we don't want to put all our eggs on that. But to be honest with you, if I was Pete, I don't want to be competing against Vladdy because that's even going to hurt my ego even more. Because Vladdy's going to get more money than Pete is if they go up head to head, and and if Pete's trying to get the most money this year, he's going to get into a rude awakening next year because of the same deal. Is that Vladdy's a more offensive, all around offensive guy, right? Where Pete's a home run guy, and Vladdy will give you home runs, but he'll give you everything else as well. So defensively, both of them are horrible, or at least. I might even give the nod to Pete defensively. So and if we think Pete's not a great defender, then Vladdy is not going to be great as either. And we know Pete can scoop. One thing that we know about Pete is that he can scoop. and he saves errors for his defense. And so, I'll take that all day, all the scooping, because he might not play his position the best, but if he saves his other fielders from making errors, I'll take that. And at the end of the day, next year, if Pete resigns, he breaks the home run record. Right, he's only 26 away from the home Mets home run record, and so he's our guy, kind of like Sean Manaea. Pete's our guy. I could see him getting 25 a year, just like Sean, just a 4-year contract. I think that's where the holdup is, because, like you said, he wants the years, and I don't think he's getting it. And so I think when this is all said and done, if he does sign back up with the Mets, it's going to be a 4-year, 110 million dollar contract around there.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, the Mets are trying to build a winning culture, and guys want to be a part of it. We saw Sean Manaea take a bit of a discount to come back to the Mets and play, not because his buddy Frankie Montas was playing, not because he's getting paid what a starting pitcher of his caliber should get paid, but because he knows that the Mets are going to win. He knows that the Mets are about winning, rather, and they want to continue to have that culture of continued success. We all remember the year of 2022 where we had that 101 win season and things were great, and we went out in the wild card round, and then the next year we thought we were going to build off of that, and it was just a disappointment of a season where we ended up selling all of our guys. We got a lot of prospects, which was great in that regard, but not great in the sense of we were trying to build a winning culture, and that halted in 2023. And so now, building off of this year, where we went to the NLCS, we're 2 games away of making the World Series. We want to continue to build off of that. We want to continue to build off that success. We don't want another gap year like we had in 2023, where we're just waiting for another legacy to be built and a an empire or a dynasty to be built, as Steve Cohen wants. But we want to do that starting this year. And so you go out, you get protection for Juan Soto. You even sign another bat. People are talking about the Alex Bregman idea of him coming over here instead of Pete Alonso. And I say, why not them both, man? Go out, build your team so that it's so undeniable that teams are complaining about us, like they're complaining about the Dodgers and how unfair it is that we're signing all these players. You go out and build these guys, continue to build protection around Pete or around Juan Soto, around Francisco Lindor, and build that farm system up so that you don't have to go out into the trade market and trade all your prospects away. That's how you build dynasties. That's how you can have continued winning, and it starts in the off season. So I think that it's very crucial that we at least sign Pete Alonso, if not also another big free agent like Alex Bregman.
Hey, big shout out to Jonathan in the chat. I know it's been rolling out there that Bregman is second base, and I don't know. I wouldn't mind him at second base, to be honest with you. But I just don't see it happening. I think it's one or the other. I think if it's not Alonso, it's going to be Bregman. I think the Mets prefer Alonso because they want to keep Vientos at third, and so I think I don't think a Bregman at second is going to happen. The only reason I see Bregman signing with the Mets is that if Alonso doesn't sign, and I know somebody broke down the Alonso Bregman stats, and obviously Alonso's a better power hitter, and overall better an overall hitter, with on base and stuff like that. And so, I don't think we're going to be missing some pop, but I don't think we're going to miss some power. And so, I think that's why I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think we're going to miss some pop, but I don't think we're going to miss some power. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think we're going to miss some pop, but I don't think we're going to miss some power. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think we're going to miss some pop, but I don't think we're going to miss some power. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think we're going to miss some pop, but I don't think we're going to miss some power. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is going to be the second base. And so, I think Bregman is be missing a lot of offense if we sign Bregman. But I don't see us both. I could be wrong. I'd be surprised and that he wants to leave room for the young guys to come up. And if we block guys at second, that means the only spot we have center field. And and that's a small window, right? That's three guys for one spot. Beatty, Clifford, and all those guys because there's no room for them to come up, and teams are going to see that, and what are they going to give up if we want to trade those guys for pitching or something else? What would they give up if the only spot available is center field, and they know some of these guys don't play center field?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and that's why you continue to build up the prospect name and build up those guys so that they're more attractive down the line when you go out and make those trades. And you don't want to clog them up so that if there is an opportunity for them to prove themselves, like there was with Luis Angel Acuna last year, where he came up for a week or two just to play shortstop and even made the postseason roster because of that. You don't want to have that a case where you sign these free agents and there's no room for these guys to come up. So I agree with you there. But at the same time, you don't build a winning culture by just hoping that these guys pan out. I think that you can continue to build those prospects and give them the opportunities to shine. At the same time, you also go out and put up a team that you think is going to win and give you continued success. I'll bring the Jose Siri signing to light. Jose Siri is a signing, or sorry, a trade where yes, he's going to get mostly everyday playing time, split with Tyrone Taylor. But like you said, it still gives the young guys like a Drew Gilbert or even Jet Williams to come out and beat them out for the spot. That's what the great thing about these kind of smaller signings is you have guys that are still able to compete. And I don't think that the Mets are in a spot where they have every position filled out. I think they have a lot of room for improvement. I think they have at least three spots where they can have these young prospects come out and shine. Uh, that's right field, center field, and second base, and maybe even third base. You can have all those guys shine out. And I say right field. I know you guys are saying, "Oh, that's Juan Soto's spot." Juan Soto can move around. So can Brandon Nimmo. There's both of those guys can eventually play DH at some point, and maybe that's even better to give those young guys, or just younger legs that are trying hard to make a name for themselves, an opportunity to play in the major leagues. So I don't think that signing these guys leaves out room for the prospects, and that's why I think that you build your roster without the prospects in mind. Because at the end of the day, we love to say it on this podcast, and I think we've heard it a lot before. Prospects are great, but parades are better.
Yeah, no, but you can't compare signing Bregman to Siri, right? Siri's not making any money, and if the guys play better than Siri, the prospect's going to play. Um, you know, with Bregman, you're signing him to a 20-25 million dollar contract. He's not he's not getting benched for a prospect, even if the prospect does well, because you're giving him $25 million. And Soto and Nimmo, yes, their future potentially could be DH, but that's not in the next couple years. They're not moving to DH for a while, and some of these prospects are ready now, and so I wouldn't say that you know you build like that. I think one more bat is what we need for sure. Bregman in second base would be a surprise for me, just because of the prospect allowing the team for its prospects to come up. And we got a lot of middle infielders and center fielders in the coming up, and so that's why those two are ideal for those prospects to shine. And McNeil's on the team still. So we can't forget that McNeil's on the team. I know people were circulating is Candelita back, and McNeil's on the team. So until McNeil's off this team, I don't see us resigning Iglesias, and I don't see us signing Bregman as well, to that matter, because you gotta one, you have McNeil on the team, and you gotta see, kind of like Jonathan was saying, we gotta see some young guys play.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You always want to make room for the young guys, and I don't think that if we do sign Bregman, it's going to be at that second base position. I think he does play third base, and that would just mean that if Pete's back, then he just goes to DH, and he's fluctuating with Mark Vientos or we're fluctuating with Mark Vientos and Pete Alonso at first base. And there's a lot of ways to maneuver a roster so that it works in your favor. We saw a lot of movement, especially with in teams like I'll continue to reference the Dodgers, but they had a lot of movement on their team where you send guys up that might be major league ready. And then you send them down when there's not an opportunity for them to play anymore. But we saw this last year with Mark Vientos, where he was moved down a bunch, and because there was no room for him to play on this roster. But I'll say this: that the good rookies, the good prospects, will make room for themselves to play on this roster. They'll make themselves so undeniable that they need to be on this roster, and that's what happened with Mark Vientos last year. And I think that can very much happen with any of these guys that are coming up. Same thing with the pitching side, because we talk about creating this pitching depth, and we forget that we have two huge prospects in the mix for this year, and then Christian Scott coming back the next year. And how do you think those guys are going to play? They're going to have to make room for themselves in the roster. They're going to have to make themselves so undeniable that they come in and make a name for themselves. And so I think in the same way, you can see these guys play, but I don't think it takes away from us signing these guys. Don't get me wrong. Bregman would be great, but I'm not over here begging for him. I think he would extend the roster a bunch, a good amount, but I don't think that he's going to make or break it at the same time. And so, although it would be nice to dream about a roster with, Francisco Lindor leading off and then Alex Bregman batting sixth, that'd be awesome. But I'm not here to advocate for him. Or to be on my knees begging for him. So, but I will say, bring back Pete, because I think that we do need power in this lineup. We have Mark Vientos, Francisco Lindor, maybe even Juan Soto, but that's about it. We can talk about Francisco Alvarez too, but we need another sure thing bopper, and I think Pete Alonso is that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for me, he's that guy too. I kind of threw it out on X that if Pete doesn't come back, it's because he doesn't want to come back. And that's a possibility. We can't discount that maybe Pete doesn't want to come back. And so I hope that's not the case. We kind of beat up Pete a little bit this past year. I know, me included. And he didn't have a great year. He had a good year, better than most, but he may not want to come back, and that might be where we're at with it. Pete, if he doesn't sign here with the Mets, it might be because he just doesn't want to come back. But I hope I'm wrong. We're gonna kind of end it there because there's not much else going on until we see some signings in the relief help, or we see Pete signed again. I don't think there's much going to be happening until after the new year. To be honest with you, You know, next week, uh, it's up in the air if we'll come out on or not, because we'll come on if Pete signs. If not, we'll probably see you in the new year. But for right now, we're gonna take this week off and come back next year ready to go. But unless Pete signs, we'll come on. But before we get out of here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, let us know how you're feeling about the whole situation. Give us your comments on replay. Do you like, or did we do enough with signing Manaea? How long is it going to take Pete to sign? Let us know what you're thinking. But before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
Yeah, the New York Giants are in sole possession of the number one pick of the 2025 NFL draft, and that's something I got to look forward to in 2025. I hope that's not the only thing with the Mets signing Juan Soto. They're not done, but we're looking forward to the new year, not just on a baseball standpoint, but also on a football standpoint. So let's go Mets. Let's go Giants.
Yeah, yeah. So Merry Christmas, everybody. And if we don't come on next week, Happy New Year. Stay safe out there. Spend it with the people you care about. And again, let's go Mets.